clues that you need to take a break, especially when they're using extreme language, always and never. That's another thing to pay attention to is your extreme language. When you're grounded in emotional intelligence, you really start paying attention to your extreme language. And we're in an extreme time right now.
Welcome, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour. I'm Sharon Saylor from SharonSaylor.com and, of course, UnderstandingAutoimmune.com, where you can find over 450 plus episodes of the show. And I'm so excited tonight because we have a return guest. She's a dear, dear friend of mine. I love her to death, and also it was great things like that. Plus, I've got my cup of tea here. It's funny. Last week, I talked about this new mug, and I got some interesting comments about not having the tactile feel of the warmth. I'm growing to enjoy the mug even more, but you're right. I do miss the feeling of a hot mug. Oh, chai tea again. Yeah, I know, guys. That's just what I do. Oh, my gosh. I'm so excited. Dr. Shawne Duperon's with us again tonight. And oh, wow, we got so many topics to cover because last time we just ran out of time. Shawne and I just can talk forever. And I just love her for that. Let me do a quick introduction for you. I'm going to read it, guys. I know, but she's so awesome. I don't want to miss a little bit of it because with a PhD in good gossip theory, 6 Emmy Awards, 28 Emmy nominations, and an organic social media reach topping 100 million per month. Yep, that's what I said, 100 million per month. Dr. Shawne Duperon of Shawne TV is considered one of the most innovative and influential consultants and trainers in communication today. As a recognized TV producer, Dr. Shawne strengthens organizations with compelling and strategic messaging for prime time. She's an expert in conflict resolution tools, and the apology you'll never receive garnered the honor of a Nobel Peace Prize nomination. Wow. I'm so honored that she's my friend, too. It's amazing. Welcome, Dr. Shawne. Thanks for being on the show.
Thrilled to be here as usual, Ms. Sharon.
I know we're going to talk on a wide range of topics, but it just popped into my head. I've just gotten to that place in my life where I just want to do what makes me happy. And if somebody has a problem with it, I'm not hurting anybody, not my problem. What do they say? Not my circus, not my monkey, or something like that.
Yes.
Now, one of the things I learned early from in our getting to know each other was the apology you'll never receive. That is such a powerful tool. And it was part of my transformation into going, I don't care, not my problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's explain to the audience a little bit about the apology you'll never receive, and then we'll get into some of my other questions for you.
Sounds great. And you know this, I know your folks listening know this too, that there's something powerful about you choosing what you choose. And when people do things around us, whether it's family members or at work, we don't have any control over that. We only have control over ourselves. And I love the conversation of deepening my own wisdom, deepening the wisdom of those around me, especially when I train. And that's what this tool does. It is all about you. If I'm doing it's all about me. How can I soothe myself and empower myself so that no matter what someone else is doing, it doesn't shift my peace, that I'm able to manage. And that's really what it's about because our brains are so powerful. And a great example is someone does something, you don't like it, you know they're not going to apologize. So you pretend in your mind's eye that they're apologizing. They're not apologizing, but it might look like this. Maybe I'm on the line with a cell phone company and I'm on hold going from place to place. You've ever been in that situation, right? The phone just keeps going on and on to other people. I just pretend in my mind's eye so I can stay calm because I don't want to blast the person that I end up getting. I say in my mind's eye, I pretend I'm that cell phone company and say, oh, Dr. Shawne, we are not very good at customer service right now. We're actually failing. So sorry. Obviously, our people need more training. We'll get to you very soon. We'll work this out. And we're so sorry you have to deal with us. They're not going to say that. That's not going to happen, right? Especially when you're going from being transferred all over the place. And what it does, though, is it shifts my being. because that's the only place I have control. So the apology you'll never receive is a practice, an ongoing practice to self-soothe powerfully in your own wisdom, because our brains are powerful. Just like if I say, what does a lemon taste like? You immediately taste a lemon or peanut butter or a pickle. And when we apologize, pretend someone's apologizing, it actually feels like they truly are apologizing. And that can calm me down so quickly. I'm getting so good at it. And those around me that practice this tool are getting really good at it too. It's a very grounding skill set.
It's an amazing skill set. When I learned it, so many things shifted so quickly. And by the way, all of a sudden I have this lemony peanut butter pickle in my mouth.
I got it. Our brains are so powerful.
All at once.
Yes.
So where this takes me is one of the things about the autoimmune hour that I've strived for is having people realize they have a voice, especially in their medical care. Too often when we're feeling crummy, we go to a doctor, they give us a couple of minutes, we may not even be able to get our whole set of concerns out. They write a prescription and pat you on the head, off you go. And one of the things that I love about your work is having our voice, understanding our voice, crafting our voice, and really how much it supports, at least in my case, and I think it's pretty universal, is for my own mental health, my own mental peace, is knowing I have a voice.
Yeah. And you could be anywhere on that spectrum. Let's say you're with the doctor. Maybe you never say anything. You rarely speak up. Some of us rarely speak up because we don't want to rock the boat. Then there's those of us who blast people and we're going to tell it like it is, no matter what our impact is, and alienate everyone around us. And then in that spectrum, there's also those that are like me, like I'm being conscientious of what I'm saying. I'm uncomfortable saying it, and I'm not as grounded. Maybe I'm a little triggered or activated, and it doesn't come off the way that I want it to. There's a lot of ways that it can go with your voice. One of the things that really works every single time in high pressure communication, and in my world, when I'm feeling dismissed by a doctor, or if you're feeling dismissed by a doctor, that's high pressure to speak up, right?
It is. It's very scary to speak up.
Yeah. Yep.
From a young age, I'm taught white coat authority.
Yeah, exactly. And you always hear that saying, speak up even if your voice shakes. Yes. And one thing that works consistently is to be so authentic. And authentic with the doctor might be, can I be really honest with you, Dr. So-and-so? You be the doctor for a second. I'm feeling dismissed. The doctor's trying to get the door. And I say, can I be really honest with you?
Yes. That's very disarming, by the way. A little side note. That was all of a sudden, I had to say yes.
Yes. And I just want to let you know that as your patient, I'm feeling dismissed. Are you by chance in a hurry?
I am, but let me sit down and then what are your concerns?
I really appreciate this because this is really important to me. I'm concerned about blank. I'm concerned about blank. Let's try another scenario. Let's do it again. Okay. Doctor's getting ready to leave. And I'm using that first sentence. Hey, Dr. So-and-so, can I be really authentic with you?
Should I say no on a side note?
It's rare that someone would, or it might be, if you don't feel comfortable saying, can I be really honest with you? It might be, can I have another moment of your time?
What's interesting on that, this is me, Sharon, talking.
Yeah.
Can I have another moment of your time? If I was super busy, there's a little more flexibility in the request.
Yes.
Maybe hedge and say, I can give you another 2 minutes, or set some parameter around it.
Yeah.
It was
But
fascinating.
when I think about doctors, their authority is rarely questioned. It's rarely questioned. And it would be jarring for a doctor to hear say, hey, can I be really authentic with you? Or can I have another moment of your time? That would jar the doctor because they don't get that.
Yeah, right.
They just don't. You'll have their attention. And can I have another moment of your time? You be the doctor for a second.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to be authentic because there's some things I still need to talk about. I'm feeling dismissed and I don't want it to go this way. Can we have a few more minutes to talk about my 2 other concerns that we haven't gotten to yet?
Absolutely.
And I want you to notice, Sharon, is you can feel I'm not being defensive. I'm truly being authentic. And I'm nervous and I'm feeling scared doing it. And I really want to be authentic. I want to be present to being respectful and having dignity in the conversation. So many times we're so activated or triggered by feeling dismissed or not having a voice that when we finally do speak up, we do it really weird. We put everybody on the defensive, or it just doesn't land right, and we're not being our usual grounded selves. So the trick is to have some set things to say to help get yourself grounded. Because when you're grounded, you can pretty much do anything. You really can. And you can have a voice when you're deeply grounded.
Let's talk about grounding, because part of it to me was you had a full and complete breath that came out and the sentence flowed. It wasn't choppy because you were breathing high and rapid, or it didn't sound fearful. It sounded this grounding that you call
Yeah.
it, this presence that you mentioned,
Yes.
is a nice, soothing place. It wasn't from fear, even though maybe inside the butterflies are running every which way. And
Yeah.
that was really nice to hear this. Any tips on grounding? If someone says, well, Dr. Shawne, you've been doing it forever, it sounds perfect.
Yeah. And I just want to remind you that I have been doing it for a long time. And each scenario, sometimes it's a new risk. So I have to reground with new people. I have a situation right now with a client that just happened. I've never dealt with this before. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how do I deal with this? And one of my things is when I don't know what to do, I don't do anything until the answer comes. The other thing I do, like in this scenario that we're talking about with a doctor, is I would have my prepared 2 sentences to get me into a thinking place. Because many of us, when we struggle with a voice, we're feelers. We feel everything. And I'm always balancing, and I'm a feeler. I'm a sensitive, highly sensitive person. I'm sure you get many of those that many of.
Oh, I raised my hand on that too.
Yeah, highly sensitive. And that's not how everyone operates in the world. It's more like 55, 50, 45 with thinkers and feelers. And so how I relate to it is emotional intelligence and incorporating thinking with my feeling. And when I can incorporate thinking with my high feeling, which I love, it's my superpower, I can get really grounded and I can think and feel at the same time, which is my definition of emotional intelligence.
I think that's a fantastic definition of emotional intelligence, of being able to hold those two things in your head at the same time and be okay.
Yes. And it takes practice. It takes practice. Is there a quick way to do it, or here's the tool to do it? A step can be having what you're going to say ahead of time. And it isn't always going to go as planned. It isn't always going to go as planned. And when it doesn't go as planned, in the middle of it, if it's feeling like it's becoming a disaster, I'm comfortable saying something like, I really want to be authentic and I'm noticing that I'm feeling nervous sharing this with you. Is it okay if I have this type of authentic conversation with you? And that actually grounds me while I'm doing it. I really want to be honest with you. I really want to be authentic. And people respond to that, not just the words. And if you're being authentic. And if you tend to talk fast, your speech starts slowing down in that emotionally intelligent, grounded place. When I'm upset and I'm not grounded, my voice gets really high pitched and I talk super, super fast. That's always an indicator for me. Okay, what's going on with you? Breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. Okay, I want my emotional intelligence. I talk to myself like that. That's what I do to self-soothe.
I noticed that a couple of things happen for me in that state too, as I do tend to talk fast, but I also feel like my jaw tightens and my neck begins to tighten. And I'm not sure if I'm pulling in and getting defensive or what it is. So some of my cues are actual physical feelings of, okay, you're tightening your jaw. It sounds like you're going to get a little sassy or snippy here.
Yeah. Or you're holding your breath, right?
Yes.
Yeah, or you're holding your breath. And in this realm of having a voice, there's other scenarios. I've been working with my granddaughter, 7, and she cannot hear no. She just can't hear it. And I've been working with her on it because she'll just, I want this, I want this. I know, but it's like cajole, manipulate, try to get you to do something. And it reminds me of the conversation we had before, like when someone's saying one bite of cake won't hurt, or go, come on, dance. And when you don't want to dance, and you sometimes have to tell somebody no 3 or 4 times. My rule is always, I'll say no 3 times, especially if it's not someone I'm intimate with. And at the 4th, I'm like, come on, let's go dancing. You know what, Katie? What is it about my no that you just can't hear right now? I really need you to hear me, Katie. I really am a no, and I appreciate it. Because, see, when I'm grounded and I'm responding authentically, I don't feel defensive. I can manage the triggers. Trigger word you use a lot here. Trigger or activated. Do you have something that will just set you off because it's stuff that's happened in the past? Is trigger or activated words you use?
Both of them are great. I
Yeah.
prefer trigger word, but activated.
And you can hear that I'm not triggered or activated, that I'm in my grounded self. And actually, in the realm of codependency, we all know what codependency is when we do things to take care of other people so we don't have to look at ourselves, because it's much easier to focus on someone else. And someone that's trying to get you to dance or to eat a piece of cake or to have a drink when you don't want to drink some alcohol, or Brielle, my 7-year-old, trying to get me to do something, it's really about them managing their own discomfort, their own anxiety. And when you call it what is it about my no that you can't hear? It's like boom. It's like boom. Oh, I'm sorry. I got it. Brielle is 7, so it takes a little bit longer. And I don't quite say it that way. I say things like, I really need you to embrace my no, Brielle. I'm not changing my mind. And I'm feeling sad that you keep asking and you're not hearing my no. Can we move on? Okay, Grandma.
With the holidays coming up, one thing that I run into are family members who have specialties that they make for the holidays, etc. And I have certain food limitations.
Yeah.
And this idea of, oh, just one bite won't hurt. In my case, that's not true. And I love this idea of just stating what is.
Do you want to play? Want to role play with it real quick?
Sure.
Or give me a person's name, Aunt who. It says, oh,
I'm just going to choose a name out of the air. Edna. Edna.
all right,
Aunt.
Aunt. Oh, come on, Sharon. Just one bite. It's so good. One bite won't hurt.
Oh, Aunt Edna, I adore your cookies. You make them every year, and they mean so much to the family. However, I just can't eat gluten.
Perfect. Did you feel sick or the gluten impacts your?
Yeah, I just can't eat gluten because tomorrow I'm going to wake up with a migraine and just spoil the holidays for everybody.
Yeah, I love it. Let's trade places and let's try a couple of other ideas. You be Aunt Edna. One more
Okay.
bite. Let's do it like 3 or 4 times with different scenarios, different answers. Okay. Is this
Okay.
work? Is this an okay way to do the podcast today?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
People learn when they can get a little mini script going on for sure. Okay, I'm Aunt Edna. Shawne, you have to try the finger press cookies. You know that they're a family tradition.
I love you, Aunt Edna. You're great. That's one answer.
And my reply was, here,
Yeah.
have a cookie.
Yeah. You're so sweet. You're as sweet as your cookies. That's one way to deal with it. Okay. Not avoidance. You're consciously choosing to say you're so sweet. Let's try it again.
Okay. So, oh, Shawne, I see you haven't tried any of the cookies. They're special. I make them every year for everybody.
I know. And if I could, I'd eat the whole batch. You'd have to roll me out of here. I wish I didn't get a migraine the next day. Thank you, though, sweetheart. I love you.
Mm.
Try again.
Okay. Let's see another way. Everybody enjoys my cookies every year. I just don't know what's wrong with you, Shawne. You never try them. Or you always give me an excuse of why you won't try them.
Oh, that actually hurts my heart that you feel like I'm dismissing you or not loving your cookies. The truth is, I love your cookies. I just know tomorrow I might be laying in bed for 3 hours with a migraine. I wish that wasn't the case for me. I even dream about your cookies because they're so delicious. And if I could eat them, I really would. And I wish I could take all that pain away from you, that you don't feel any kind of rejection from me for those cookies. Those cookies are fab.
Wow, I'm speechless here.
Yeah, no defensiveness on my side, emotionally intelligent, powerful way to do that, especially if it's someone you care about, right?
So though I try to stay grounded and centered, like we'll go back to the phone call that, that you're on hold forever. I don't have a relationship with them other than, hi, this is so and so on the call.
Yeah.
And yet I find that when I'm grounded and authentic during even those calls, as you mentioned, the solution just flows more easily than it would as if I'm getting defensive or do you know how valuable my time is or any
Yeah.
other type of.
Yes. And the person you're talking to, which is great because you're taking out your frustration on someone that A, can't even help you with that, B, had nothing to do with it, and C, is dealing with that crap day in and day out. And I know when I get frustrated with someone on the phone for a problem, I always feel bad afterwards because I wasn't my highest self and I took something out on someone that they didn't deserve to be taken out on. So it's actually self-care and self-preservation because I don't want to feel bad afterwards. Have you ever gotten off a customer service call and felt bad how you treated the people?
Absolutely. And even when I would say something like, I know this isn't your fault, but I'm really frustrated, or
Yes.
I know you don't have any power to fix it. And then I get off the call and I say, Sharon, if you knew that, then why did you approach it that way?
Yes, yes. Yeah, because we're trying in some way to get our needs met. The cool thing is, the thing that's so cool about this is you're actually meeting your own needs. And we say this all the time. We want to grow up and parent ourselves and take care of ourselves. That is when the rubber hits the road, when you're with someone in customer service that had nothing to do with it and you're taking your frustration out. That is the epitome. What is it? Dr. Wayne Dyer, he always said, you're not really who you are until you're squeezed, and what comes out when you're squeezed. I want what comes out when I'm squeezed to be love and butterflies and rainbows and even sometimes anger, appropriate anger, because sometimes when you're squeezed, appropriate anger is appropriate, right?
Oh, absolutely. Anger, oftentimes in my work, people would say, how do I stop being angry? I'm like, no, that's not the question. The
Yeah.
question is about when is anger appropriate and what other things can we do in different situations. We never want to extinguish our anger because it's
Yeah.
inappropriate. You need it sometimes.
Yes. And we equate that when you're angry, you raise your voice and you say it in a forceful way. That's a myth. It's a myth. Just like forgive and forget is a myth. We don't forgive and forget. We forgive and remember. So we put boundaries in place. When I'm really angry, one of my best phrases that I say when someone, I'll say authentically, you know what? I'm so angry right now. I don't want to speak because I don't think I can be respectful. So I'm going to bow out. We'll talk about this maybe in an hour, or can we talk about it at the end of the day when I calm down? Because I don't want to regret what I'm going to say. I say that when I'm really mad.
I think that's such a useful tool, especially with family and friends calling a timeout, just
Yes.
to regroup and both people to settle down because you're right. You can't take it away once you say it.
Yeah. You know what else too? My daughter happens to be a psychiatrist. She's awesome. Her name is Autumn. And she works at the Veterans Hospital. She works with veterans. And she is commonly hit with highly irate patients and where there's nothing's happening and it's just yelling or whatever. She literally does something like this. You're obviously very upset and this isn't working right now. I'm going to walk out of the room and give it 15 minutes. I'll see you in 15 minutes. That's something you can also do. You can do it with your kids. You can do it with your partner. You can even do it with a boss or a colleague. I'm so upset right now. I need to walk out and walk away from this. Let's reconvene in a little while. And you can say a time if you want. And it works. It really works. Because there's nothing worse than the double whammy of feeling upset that you got angry, feeling upset that you were harmful to someone in your anger. And then it almost becomes inverted. It's almost like gaslighting yourself, because the thing you were upset about isn't the thing you're upset about anymore. The issue is about how you reacted to that upset. That's how it becomes inverted, and that's how you gaslight yourself. I got another example. Is it okay if I share this example?
Absolutely.
Okay. I have a 13-year-old grandson, and somebody was talking trash to his girlfriend, and so he pushed him. And with the trash he was talking was sexually inappropriate. And the boy that was so sexually inappropriate didn't get in trouble. Draken did, because he pushed him. And I said, hey, this is when you want to use your emotional intelligence. You want to use your brain, because he's really smart. Because when you say things at school, like, my safety is at risk, there's sexual inappropriateness right now, everybody stops, drops, and pays attention. When you hit, they have to stop, drop, and pay attention. So when you get really smart and say things like, this isn't working with, walk away and use your intelligence and use that thinking with your feeling and saying, this is what's hurting or what's bothering me, and use those key words, especially in a school situation. Powerful things can happen that way. And it doesn't become about you pushing the kid for being sexually inappropriate or saying sexually inappropriate things.
That's beautiful. I think we should teach our kids that from an early age, is standing in our place and in our ground, and yet being able to give voice to what's really going on, what's really happening beneath the surface.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to asterisk one point we made there, and that is, I have found that it's a critical part of the sentence, and I want to underline and underscore that what Dr. Shawne said was making sure that when I say something like I need some time off, is to actually give them some idea of when I'll be back, or when we'll reconvene, or even if it's safe, having the discussion of, I'm really angry right now, I don't want to say something I'll regret. I'm going to need at least a half an hour. What's your schedule look like this afternoon? I think it is so helpful if we let them know that the connection isn't broken. It's just squeaking wheel right now.
Yes. And to set a time, that's not the time to set a time. Let them counter offer. Hey, I'm so upset right now. I need 30 minutes. Okay. And then in 30 minutes, you can either call, email them. Hey, when would be a good time? When you're calm. Trying to negotiate a time for later while you're in the midst of that trigger, that agitation, that upset. It's multitasking, and it actually helps you stay ungrounded. It's okay to be that angry. And it's okay to say, I'm so angry, I can't talk right now. And letting yourself do that, to me, is the epitome of self-care. That is self-care in action.
Yes, excellent point. Except that letting them know, I like that point, letting them know that it's not a forever I'm walking out of the room. It's just cooling off time.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Because sometimes I know that in situations where I've observed where the other person during this is equally angry, and then all of the sudden stories of abandonment, and you always do this, and blah, blah, blah.
Yes. Those are clues that you need to take a break, especially when they're using extreme language. Always and never. That's another thing to pay attention to, is your extreme language. When you're grounded in emotional intelligence, you really start paying attention to your extreme language. And we're in an extreme time right now. Most stuff going on feels extreme, from wars to politics. There's so much going on globally with extreme language. So one of the things I've been practicing in my mindfulness is, whenever I'm using extreme language, like, oh my gosh, you killed it, I'm thinking in my mind's eye, no, that's extreme language. Very mindful. You did a phenomenal job. And I can also hear, when I'm in extreme language, I'm excited and high-pitched. Oh my gosh, you killed it. Excitable, all that. Doesn't mean I have to stay calm all the time. Just as a leader, I want to be mindful of my extreme language. I don't want to contribute to extremes. I want to help soothe and calm not only myself, those around me that I'm leading or impacting as well.
Awesome. I'm going to leave it right there. We need to take a quick commercial break. Everybody, I'm going to ponder that. That was awesome. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour. I'm so happy you're here, and I'm so happy Dr. Shawne is with us, too. Her name is Dr. Shawne Duperon, and I read her bio at the beginning, you guys. You've seen how awesome she is, so I want to jump right in. And one of the things that a lot of people bring up to me, and we had a show on it not too long ago, was highly sensitive people. We both raised our hands a little bit ago about that. Oftentimes, I hear you're too sensitive. Now,
Yeah.
it could be about my food sensitivities, or it could be about my emotional sensitivities, or whatever. I like that I'm sensitive. That's who
Yeah.
I am.
Yep. Yep. I love
But I've
it.
never had a good response.
I got one. I got one.
Okay.
I too I've been called sensitive my whole life. I finally learned in my 50s with practice what is authentic for me to say when someone says that. And I want you to say to me, you're so sensitive, Shawne, or whatever. I'm going to give you my response and I'm going to tell you what it means and why I do it this way.
Oh, Shawne, you're just so sensitive.
You're right.
Wow.
I am. You're right. I am.
Side note, stepping off to the side, Shawne. You know what is amazing to me? That was totally disarming. I had nothing else to say.
Yes. Yes. Because what happened is when I say you're right, I am. I didn't take on the shame of that because it's usually said very shamefully. I didn't need to defend a darn thing when I'm grounded and I've had a lot of practice with your sensitive. It is disarming and it's actually authentic. You're right, I am. And you think of when you think of karate, like I've seen in the Karate Kid shows or whatever, like going with the flow, like if you resist, but when they say you're sensitive, I am.
Absolutely. The flow just continued on. And that was amazing to me how I was ready to defend it, my statement. I'd put myself in that frame of mind as sounding a little sarcastic or a little aggressive. And all of a sudden, it was like I had nowhere to go.
I did that the year my mother died. She died in 2020, and I had her for a year. She's tough, right? Very tough. She was tough. And she said that to me many times. And when I just had to keep practicing, what can I say that I'm not defensive with all the other stuff going on? And then I finally learned when I said, you're right, I really am, Mom. She never said it again.
Mm, beautiful. Love
Yeah.
that. Love that tips. Oh my gosh, the tips just keep coming.
Yeah.
I love talking to you, Dr. Shawne. It's so enlightening. And I think the audience knows that I'm just such a word nerd that I just soak all of this up. It's so fascinating. Now, I want to take a left-hand turn if we could, or right-hand. I want to turn. I'm going to run down a rabbit hole, which the audience knows I do.
Oh,
So,
you're so sensitive.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so where I want to go with this was recently I was with a lot of people, and maybe it's just me. I'm so sensitive, owning it. I've noticed that some of the people I'm with, they tend, I'll say it was, to me, it was gender oriented. They
Yeah.
become more distinguished with age.
Yeah.
And yet I noticed as a woman who's aging, there are so many times that I feel invisible. And I know outside of the medical realm too, we opened with this idea of getting the doctor's attention to be able to be heard. But I'm finding that just this is not autoimmune related to me. I'm thinking it's aging, but I'd love your insights on this idea of there are times when I've enjoyed the invisibility because I can get away with a lot of things.
Yes.
But then there are other times where I wish that it wasn't there. So tell me, am I hallucinating or what?
No, no, it does shift as we age. And so how I unpack it is I start asking myself for clients, okay, so you're feeling invisible and it has something to do with aging. What are you feeling invisible about? Is it your beauty? Is it your opinion? Is it your contribution? Are you not feeling appreciated? Where is the invisibility? So that's what I'm going to ask you. How were you, what was it, what was the undertone of that feeling invisible? Because there's so many ways we can feel invisible. Right?
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad you bring that up. In
Yeah.
this particular case, I would say it was my opinion. Several times during the course of the 2 days, I won't say mansplained, but that'll give it the idea. I was just splained over. It
Yes.
had nothing to do with it, but just to give some context, I'll use that word.
Yeah. So let's do high pressure, because this is invisibility has a lot of time to do with your voice mattering. Because it's not us, like we like to attribute it to age, and there's some things to it, to the age thing, and it's really about our voice. It really comes down to that. So give me a scenario. Let me be you be that person talking over you, and just give me a sense, and I'm going to give you some ideas of how to respond.
What she's really trying to say is that it's not that way.
Bob, I appreciate you sticking up for me. I really would like to finish what I'm saying. Would you be so kind as to let me finish? Another way to do it, depending on your personality. Go ahead.
Okay, let's see. I'm trying to think again.
Do the same thing.
What she's really trying to say is,
Oh, you're so sweet. Are you actually trying to say what I'm saying? You are so cute. Oh my gosh. Let me say more so you really understand what I'm trying to say. What also helps, if the energy of that person, especially if it's mansplaining, if you're sitting next to them, you actually touch them, because that will actually, that will shock. And I don't mean shock is too extreme. That will interrupt what's going on there physically and verbally. So touching that person, that's what I find myself doing. If I'm feeling like I'm interrupted in like a circle of 3 or 4, I might reach over and touch them. Oh, let me finish that thought, because I'm seeing that you're not understanding. Or, oh, I want to finish my thought because it's so good. Right? Those are different ways of being. They're not defensive. They're not shaming. That's managing your own triggers and being able to play. Play is a powerful way to deal with the shame and the defensiveness. So let me do it with you. Okay, what she's really trying to say is,
Shawne, thank you for, gosh, it's hard, isn't it?
yeah, let's just go. So what? That's how you do it.
Shawne, thank you for defending me. I'm thinking about this, or
Oh, but what, aren't you really trying to say this? Now let me be you for a second. Say to me, aren't you really trying to say this?
aren't you really trying to say this?
No, actually. And what I really need for a second is I need about 45 seconds for you to really listen to this. So can you do that without interrupting me right now? Because I notice when I'm interrupted, sometimes I get nervous and I don't get my thoughts out, depending upon the group you're with. How authentic is that?
Extremely authentic.
Yes, and depends upon the people you're with. You're not going to do that with everybody. It's just another situation like, oh, I'm noticing I'm not wanting to share, but I really want to share this. So would you grace me with just a few seconds? Let me finish what I say. That would be so graceful of you to do that for me. I'm not kowtowing them. I'm not sucking up. I'm actually being my grace, my authenticity, caring about my own mindfulness, how I treat others around me without being defensive, without being shameful, without shaming someone else, and definitely without sideways passive aggressive anger. Passive aggressive anger sucks.
I want to bookmark that for just a second, because I want to explain. I really appreciate how you share multiple opportunities, because context matters. And now I've got multiple opportunities to, when I replay the tape here, to listen to, okay, that would work in this context. And oh gosh, that other example would work in this context. And I love that opportunity to have multiple contexts, because having just one script.
One size doesn't fit all situations. It never will.
Okay, so now we're just down to the last 10 minutes or so. You said passive aggressive, and that sparks my intrigue, because there are so many times that I think that's happening more and more, whether people realize they're doing it. Sometimes it feels passive aggressive to me, and then what do I do, versus really understanding whether it was the intention was passive aggressive. So let's just first describe passive aggressive, how you describe it, and we'll talk about the greater ramifications.
And passive aggressive is just this big spectrum of stuff. The bottom line is it's inauthentic and it's a type of manipulation. and it's inauthentic. So let's say you're apologizing to me. Let's say you're a half hour late. We're at the theater. You really screwed up. You're a half hour late. Let's make it bigger than that. Something big that you just apologized for. And passive aggressive answer would be, okay, thank you for apologizing. When you don't receive it at all and you think it's just a bunch of BS. Have you ever received an apology that to you is just BS, but you say, okay.
Yes. I was thinking of the time of always blaming traffic, always blaming something else. And it wasn't exactly maybe the first time you let it slip, but after a while, someone uses the same excuse over and over again. I notice I can get a little snippy.
Yes. So let's use that as a second scenario. Here's the first one. Let's say someone deeply apologizes for something that was a pretty big betrayal or hurt, and I don't accept the apology. A lot of times when I'm in that space, sometimes I will say, let's just say, I'm really sorry, Dr. Shawne.
I'm really sorry, Dr. Shawne.
Yeah, I know you are. I don't quite know where I'm at with this. I need to process a bit. Can we table this for a little while?
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for that. Because I don't know where I'm at with it. I don't accept the apology. I don't feel forgiving in this moment. And I would really like to table it for a while to let it soothe and calm down and then talk about it again. It might be 3, 4, 5 conversations before that big betrayal can float away or dissolve, depending on how deep the relationship is. We each have full permission to not accept an apology. It won't work to say, I don't accept your apology. That kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah,
Then,
it makes me more
yeah,
defensive and more feeling like I have to explain and or maybe just drop out of sight. It's okay.
yeah, avoid it.
Avoid
Yeah,
it.
yeah, get and ghost them. And it's so authentic to say, I don't know quite where I'm at with this right now. I'd really like to table it and we can talk about it more over time. And I'd be dishonest if I didn't say this one really got me. So I need to table it. That's me having my voice and not pretending or not lying and receiving and being passive aggressive because say I said yes to that, later on it's going to come out sideways and snarky. Let's go to the person who's late all the time, right?
Right. Right. Traffic was awful. I don't know. It just made me, I kept trying to get here and GPS just kept taking me everywhere. I'm so sorry. Traffic was awful.
I got it. Here's the key to this one. Now is not the time to have the conversation because you're about to do something. The person is late again. The time to do that is when you're not in that predicament and you can actually talk about it with time and care and concern, depending on how deep the relationship is, right? So it'd be, okay, I got it. I need to talk about this a little bit deeper with you at a later time. Would you be okay with that?
Okay.
Okay. And then in a non-intensity moment, hey, I need to talk about this late thing. Can we talk about this late thing?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And my biggest fear is that you're going to feel like I'm attacking you. And that's not the goal of what I want to say. And I really want to be authentic because I really want to be close to you. That's my heart's desire. Cool.
Cool.
Okay. So can I share a couple of things? And I'm nervous to share it. Is it okay if you just be quiet and receive what I'm about to say and don't interrupt me so I can really say what's really on my heart?
Yeah. Making me a little scared, but okay.
I understand. Let's be scared together. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's what I'm understanding about intimacy is that you're really exposing yourself. I'm exposing myself. And it's scary to do that sometimes. And I really want intimate relationships in my life. And you're one of those people I want to have an intimate relationship with. Yeah.
Me too.
So,
Me
yeah,
too.
I get that. That's why I'm going to have this conversation with you because I love you.
I love
Okay.
you too.
I know you.
I know that I'm late a lot.
Yeah. I want to tell you how it impacts me. What happens, and then I say it's okay. And then I find out later that discover later that I'm snarky at you and it's coming out sideways and I'm being passive aggressive and I'm being so inauthentic. And really, what goes on when you're late, I feel like I'm invisible to you, that I'm not important to you. And in moments, I really even feel taken advantage of because I'm reliable, Shawne. And I just wanted to share that with you. And I'm wondering what we can do together to help alleviate this from happening, because it's really hard on me.
I'm sorry. You know, that's not my intention to be hard on you.
Yeah,
I'll pay more attention to time. I'll set alarms. I'll set alarms because time just gets away from me.
I totally get it. And I see that we both have habits and patterns. And so this will be an iterative process of gentleness till we both get really good at it, talking to each other in this intimate way and being respectful of both of us. My time happens to be my thing. You might have some things that are going on for you that you might have some of these feelings about too, that you don't feel dignity and respect. And in intimacy, dignity and respect must be present. And I really want that with you.
That's beautiful, Dr. Shawne. That's
It is,
beautiful.
isn't it? Yeah.
That's beautiful. Now, I want to be mindful of our time.
Yes, ma'am.
So we're just down about the last 3 or 4 minutes, Dr. Shawne, and I do want the audience to know more about, we've been sharing so much great information here and more about you and also the different projects you're doing. I'm a huge fan of Project Forgive. That's where I learned the apology you'll never receive. So please share about that. And if we can squeeze in a little bit about the documentary that you're doing.
Yes. Oh, so to connect with me, my company is Shawne TV, and I'm Shawne with an E, Shawne TV. We also do business as Project Forgive. Best way to reach us is on LinkedIn. Facebook is where we have a pretty large presence. And of course, we have websites. We have the Shawne TV website and Project Forgive website. So this documentary has been an interesting journey. And we've done things where we've tried to sell it. Where's it going to go? What does this look like? And one of the things I've discovered this year is that what if I just forgave myself for this going on for as many years as it has? Because it was pre-pandemic that we interviewed everybody and nothing matches anymore. What I've decided to do is write the script from scratch, fit in the interviews that would actually work, and incorporate, because this is a different world before the pandemic. We're in a different world now. And I've had to do a lot of forgiveness work around this with integrity. Integrity is like my highest value. And I've had so much shame around it. And dealing with pre-pandemic, my father, my sister, and my mom died. I'm not saying that as an excuse. It rocked my world. And when the pandemic hit too, we do training and consulting. I lost every single contract and I didn't care. I was in the midst of grieving. And here it is. Here we are a few years later. And I'm finally getting myself back again and getting my voice again. Because we can lose our voices with grief, with failures or pain or devastating news. And sometimes we have to rediscover and refine ourselves. So that's the journey I've been in this year. And my game is to start from scratch and incorporate what's usable pre-pandemic. So that's the journey I'm in right now.
I love that you explained that journey, Dr. Shawne. For me, the understanding of the importance of giving yourself grace and permission to do what has to be done for you, to keep yourself centered and grounded. And I remember when you were going through the crisis with your family members, I'm thrilled to hear that you've been able to step back and give yourself that space and grace.
Yeah.
I know what will happen will be even more amazing than what was originally planned.
And I can feel that right now. The clients are coming forward from Corteva AgroScience to Salesforce to Stellantis, like the contracts are all starting to come together again. There was a point when I didn't even care about that because the grief was so deep. And I'm feeling not like my old self, because I'm a new, better version of my old self. Just allowing a lot of that grief to move through has been a pretty spectacular thing. It really is. And thank you for asking me about the documentary. And I can talk about it now without shame because I didn't do what I said I was going to do. It didn't get out in time. So, oh man. Okay. Start from scratch. Start again. Forgive yourself, Shawne. You're doing the best. I'm doing the best I can. And I really believe that most of us truly are doing the best we can.
Yes, we are. And thank you for being such a beautiful role model for us to be able to see, yes, we can do that, and giving ourselves space and grace, whether we need to heal from our autoimmune condition or heal from the past few years. I think it's all of the above. There's just so much change, as you mentioned. Everyone. That's Dr. Shawne Duperon. ShawneTV.com is SHAWNE. Shawne Duperon, ShawneTV.com. Everyone, have a great week, whatever your adventures. Join me next week for another brand new episode. Enjoy.